Before the world begins to pull you in every direction, before messages buzz and duties call, there is a sacred moment waiting for you. A quiet hour not yet stolen by distraction, a space untouched by noise, unbent by the demands of others. This is the hour when your life is yours. A time when you meet yourself unfiltered, just you and your thoughts, just you and your intentions. It is in this silence, in this stillness, that you can truly hear the whisper of your soul and weigh your values without interference. The Stoics understood this moment. They revered the early hours not for the rising sun, but for what rises within you when you choose to begin the day with clarity, control, and purpose. Before the distractions of fortune or misfortune, they found a way to anchor their minds. They used this early hour to return to their reason, to awaken not just the body, but the spirit, the will, the moral compass. Victory does not begin on the battlefield. It begins before dawn, in the mind, in the heart, in the quiet decision to own the day. That decision is not loud, it is not theatrical, it is humble, it is internal, but it is absolute. To rise early is not simply to beat the clock. It is to declare that your time is yours and that your values will lead you. This is not a motivational chant. It is a practical discipline. The moment you choose to greet the morning intentionally, you lay the foundation for strength. You do not let the world rush in. You stand guard at the gates of your consciousness. You ask yourself what matters and what will try to steal your peace. The still hour before the world awakens becomes a battleground of inner preparation. If you want victory, you must meet it at sunrise. You must look into yourself with honesty and courage. You must train your thoughts before they wander and build your posture before the winds of the day attempt to bend it. The man who meets the morning with strength will not be broken by the evening. Chapter 1. The Dawn of Discipline. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "At dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, 'I have to go to work,' as a human being." This is where discipline begins, not in grand gestures, but in rising when your comfort begs you to stay down. It starts not with a shout, but with a whisper, a quiet refusal to give in to softness. The morning is the first negotiation of the day between your higher self and your lower cravings, and it often sets the tone for every interaction and decision that follows. Will you live ruled by impulses or guided by principle? The Stoics trained themselves to rise with purpose because every day was a chance to align with reason, virtue, and duty. The early hours were sacred to them, not because they were easy, but because they were difficult. And in that difficulty lay transformation. They did not wake for pleasure. They woke for principle. Each morning was a proving ground for the kind of person they wished to be. Your alarm is not just a sound, it is a signal. Will you answer it with action, or will you surrender to sloth? Every choice you make in that moment is a vote for who you are becoming. To live a victorious life, you must win the small battles. The battle of getting up early, the battle of choosing cold water over comfort, the battle of facing the day before it demands your attention. These aren't just habits, they are statements, declarations of who you are and who you refuse to be. Each act, though seemingly small and insignificant, becomes a brick laid in the foundation of a disciplined and honorable life. The Stoics believed that character is built moment by moment. They understood that strength is accumulated like savings, slowly, patiently, and by repetition of virtuous acts. When you rise early and choose discomfort over ease, you begin your day with alignment. You claim ownership of your choices before the world tries to sway them. These small victories anchor your values and stabilize your emotional footing. Each of these acts, though they may seem trivial, stack upon one another to build an inner fortress of self-control. Like drops of water that carve through stone over time, Each act of discipline, each early rising, each refusal to indulge weakness etches resilience deeper into your character. You aren't simply resisting temptation, you are forging resilience, shaping your mind into something that cannot be broken by inconvenience or hardship. Each morning becomes a chisel against complacency. You are creating the kind of person who does not falter when pressure mounts. You are crafting a temperament that does not panic when circumstances shift or when life throws obstacles in your path. You become the person who can lead, not be led, who stands firm, not swayed by the winds of convenience. The storms of life test us all, but those who prepare each morning for life's demands find themselves anchored when others drift. Discipline in the morning leaks into the rest of your hours. It sets the tone and direction of your day. When you train yourself to command the first hour, the other 23 bend more easily to your will. You no longer approach your day from a place of reaction, but from a posture of initiation. You shape the lens through which you see your tasks, your relationships, your challenges. That early hour becomes the still point in a turning world. It is your sanctuary, your proving ground, your daily rite of passage. It's where you choose who you will be before the world tells you what to be. When you return to this moment each day, you are declaring, "I will not be passive in my life. I will not drift with the current. I will rise and steer. I will lead myself before I seek to influence anything or anyone else." Victory in this light is not some external triumph. It is inner mastery. It is not the applause of the crowd, but the quiet knowing that you showed up for yourself. It is not about perfection. It is about presence. It is about establishing a rhythm that echoes through your every action and reaction. It is about beginning each day with a choice, not a drift, with clarity, not confusion, with courage, not hesitation, with order, not chaos. It is about meeting the world already standing, already decided, already awake, ready not just to react, but to lead from within, ready not just to endure, but to prevail with dignity and focus. Set your alarm 30 minutes earlier than usual. Resist the urge to delay. When it rings, do not negotiate with yourself. Do not reach for your phone. Let silence be your first companion, not stimulation. Sit up with intention. Plant your feet firmly on the floor as a sign that you are rooted and ready. Take a deep breath, long and slow, as if drawing in clarity and releasing hesitation. Remind yourself, "I rise for virtue." These words are not a mantra, they are a contract with your better self. Keep this ritual daily, even on weekends. Do not treat weekends as an escape from discipline, but as a deepening of it. Let it become a sacred rhythm that grounds your identity, like the heartbeat of a warrior who rises not for applause, but for purpose. Let the morning silence teach you who you are when the world is not demanding anything of you. Return to it with reverence. Treat it like sacred ground. In this consistency, you will find power, not the loud, boastful kind, but the quiet, immovable kind that builds from within. Every repeated act of discipline is another link in the chain of your inner strength. In this resistance to convenience, you will find not just strength, but self-respect. You will come to trust yourself. You will learn that you do not need to feel ready to act rightly. You simply need to begin. Let your mornings become a ceremony of integrity, not just a routine. Let them remind you of what you value, what you honor, what you serve. Let each morning be a reminder that you are not here to drift, you are here to lead yourself. This is your training ground, where you rehearse virtue before the day tests it. Let your body serve your mind, not the other way around. Train your limbs to obey your will, and your will to obey reason. Let your actions follow your ideals, not your impulses. Each morning is a declaration. I am not ruled by urges, I am ruled by principles. This is how Stoic mornings begin, with clarity, intention, and a quiet promise to meet the day on your terms, with your eyes open, your heart grounded, and your mind prepared. Chapter 2. Mental Armor for the Day. The Stoics believed that the mind must be armored before the day begins. They saw the early hours as a sacred time, not just to plan the day, but to strengthen the soul. Seneca advised that a wise man should rehearse adversity in advance, preparing his mental fortress before the world makes its first demand. This was not an indulgence in worry, it was a strategy of the wise. In the morning, before the noise, prepare your thoughts. Ask, what might challenge me today? Who might test my patience? What storm could rise? What expectations might fail? What comforts might be taken away? This is not pessimism, it is premeditatio malorum, the preparation of the mind for what may come, a Stoic's shield against surprise. By imagining potential obstacles, you strip them of their power. You make room in your mind to meet difficulty with calm. You remind yourself that suffering often comes not from the thing itself, but from the shock of its arrival. If you expect challenge, you greet it like a familiar adversary. If you train for pain, discomfort cannot break you. It only reveals your readiness. The morning is the time to forge your responses before life provokes you. This is when you equip your mind with clarity before confusion arrives, when you train your heart to stay steady before the unexpected hits. It is the hour of practice, where you simulate life's unpredictable tests so they lose their power to surprise. To rehearse your principles before they are tested is not to invite chaos, but to build confidence. You do not guess who you will be under stress, you decide now. You rehearse how you will speak when others are careless with their words. You determine how you will act when plans fall apart. You visualize the version of yourself that remains noble in the face of insult or disappointment. To root yourself in reason before emotion tries to pull you elsewhere is a deliberate act of internal leadership. The Stoic does not wait to be swept up in the flood of daily events. He stands prepared at the shore. If you wake and let your emotions lead, you will be a slave to circumstance, carried by the current of whatever happens. You'll find yourself reacting to life rather than responding from principle. But if you wake and set your mind, you become the master of your day. You create space between stimulus and response. You become the observer before you become the actor. You are no longer tossed. You are anchored. You become a force, not a reaction. You begin to influence rather than absorb. You lead yourself before others can sway you. This is how the Stoic wins, before the battle even begins, in the silent rehearsal of strength, in the deliberate shaping of thought, in the readiness to meet life on noble terms. Not with clenched fists, but with a steady hand. Not with blinding optimism, but with grounded realism. To train in the morning is to prepare your soul to walk calmly through fire. And when that fire comes, as it always does, you will not be caught off guard. You will be ready, inwardly armed, and firmly planted in the truth you chose before the sun rose. Keep a small journal near your bed. Each morning, write down 3 things that might go wrong today and this week. Then, next to each, write how you will respond with reason, patience, and virtue. This is your mental armor. Chapter 3. Begin with gratitude, not greed. Epictetus reminded us, "He is a wise man who does not grieve for the things he has not, but rejoices for those which he has." Morning is the time to fix our gaze on what is already within our reach. Before the world floods your mind with noise and comparison, take stock of what is real, present, and enough. There is something sacred in waking up and realizing that, at this very moment, you already possess more than most. The breath in your lungs, the mind that can reflect, the body that can move, these are not small things. They are the uncelebrated treasures of being alive. They are evidence that you have been given another day to live with intention, another opportunity to act with integrity, and another chance to bring clarity to your purpose. These gifts are often overlooked because they are so constant, but their constancy is what makes them sacred. To recognize them is to resist taking life for granted. To cherish them is to take ownership of the present moment. The world will try to convince you that something is missing, that you need more, that you lack. It will bombard you with images and noise designed to stir discontent. It will whisper that your life is incomplete unless you acquire, achieve, or appear a certain way. It will make you doubt your worth by comparing your insides to others' outsides. But the Stoic corrects this by focusing on sufficiency. The Stoic shifts the gaze inward and asks, "What do I already possess that no one can take from me?" He learns to guard the treasures of character, perspective, and virtue more than the trappings of reputation or wealth. He reminds himself that fortune may come and go, but virtue, reason, and gratitude are his to keep if he chooses to guard them, and they are the only possessions that can truly define his peace. Gratitude is not about delusion, it is about alignment. It is not pretending everything is perfect, but choosing to notice what is already good. It is the discipline of appreciation, the conscious effort to place your attention on abundance rather than scarcity. It is a recentering of perspective, a way to anchor your spirit before the day's demands scatter your energy. When you wake and count your blessings before you chase more, you train your mind to live from fullness, not emptiness. You lay a foundation of emotional stability that makes you less reactive to the world's provocations. You build an emotional shield that protects your peace, not through withdrawal, but through a renewed sense of clarity. You begin the day from a place of strength, from a foundation of inner security. This practice is not about ignoring desire or ambition, but about anchoring your spirit before those desires grow wild. A man grounded in gratitude does not chase success to feel whole. He pursues it from wholeness. His victories are not substitutes for identity, they are expressions of it. This mindset gives you strength. It teaches you to see beauty in simplicity. It reminds you that the things you overlook are often the very things sustaining you. It opens your eyes to the sacredness of the ordinary, to the stillness of morning light, to the steadiness of your own breath, to the steady rhythm of a heart that continues to beat even through trials. You begin to see miracles in repetition. The sunrise no longer becomes routine, but revelation. It trains you to admire the ordinary and honor the present, not because they are flashy, but because they are real. It teaches you to look deeply, to pause longer, to truly observe the gifts that life quietly gives. It shows you that joy is not hidden in faraway futures, but woven into the very fabric of this moment, if only you choose to see it. And in choosing to see it, you choose to live more deeply. It creates a buffer against the temptations of vanity and the poison of comparison. In a world that thrives on showing off, gratitude helps you stay inwardly anchored. It is your personal rebellion against the lie that you are not enough. It is your proof that peace is possible without perfection. It gives you the courage to celebrate others without resenting your own path, because their gain does not threaten your worth. You are no longer a contestant in someone else's race. You are the steward of your own lane. It allows you to root your confidence in who you are, not in how you appear. And that root runs deep, so deep that the winds of disapproval, rejection, or fleeting success cannot shake it. You become the kind of person who is not easily moved, because your foundation is not built on appearance, but essence. It frees you from envy, because you understand that enough is a decision, not a condition. It is a conscious claim on peace, a bold statement that your worth will not be dictated by comparison. It's a boundary you draw to protect your peace, a fence that keeps out the noise of inadequacy and invites in clarity. And inside that fence, you find serenity. You stop measuring your worth by someone else's highlight reel and start measuring it by your capacity for appreciation. You begin to look inward for meaning, not outward for validation. You stop chasing the illusion of more and instead cultivate the depth of what already is. You begin to master the art of presence, not as an escape from ambition, but as the soil where authentic ambition grows. You no longer tally your value by what's missing, but by the weight of what's already present. You realize that real wealth is the ability to recognize your abundance while the world clamors for more. You judge yourself not by what you collect, but by how clearly you see what you already have, how clearly you honor it, and how faithfully you live from it. You start to feel rich in stillness, in health, in the capacity to love, to learn, to endure. You stop looking for life to deliver meaning and start delivering meaning into your life. You find dignity in the now, not in the chase. You find strength in being still, because stillness is no longer stagnation. It is command. It is presence. It is authority over your own spirit. It is the pause that gives birth to clarity and the silence that guards your sovereignty. It makes you calm in the face of chaos because your sense of wealth is internal. No storm can strip you of it. No failure can diminish it. No loss can erase it. Because when you live with gratitude, you are no longer chasing to be full. You are giving from what is already full within you. You do not depend on external applause to feel complete. You do not wait for permission to feel whole. You become the source, not the seeker. You radiate fulfillment instead of begging for affirmation. You walk into your day not hoping to find meaning, but bringing it with you. You offer light because you have already kindled it within. You begin to understand that true prosperity is not found in possessions, but in perspective. That richness of soul is deeper than richness of wallet. That to see life rightly is to live richly. That wealth, in the Stoic sense, is measured not by what you hold, but by how little you need to feel whole. You begin to realize that a grateful man is a rich man, no matter what he owns or lacks. He is powerful, not because he holds more, but because he holds his life rightly. He has taken responsibility for his perspective. And each morning becomes an opportunity to return to that richness before the world tries to steal it away. It becomes your morning ritual of fortification, a ritual not of fantasy, but of focus. It becomes your first act of victory, your first defiance against scarcity, your first declaration of abundance. It becomes the moment you choose to walk in truth before the lies of insufficiency have a chance to whisper. It becomes a shield, a compass, a deep breath in the soul, a moment that shapes everything that follows. It is where the internal becomes unshakable and the day bends to meet the strength you brought to it. It is the beginning of everything that matters. Upon waking, whisper 3 things you are grateful for. Keep it simple and sincere. I woke up. I am healthy. I have a mission. These few words carry immense power, setting the tone of your mind before the noise of the world has a chance to invade. Gratitude is a way of claiming the moment as your own, of reminding yourself that before anything else happens, you already have enough to begin the day with peace and presence. If you want, expand this reflection. Think about why you're grateful for those things. Ask yourself, what does my health allow me to pursue today? Is it the energy to carry out responsibilities, the strength to support others, the chance to engage with the world with presence and mobility? What does having a mission say about my direction and identity? It means you are not drifting. You have a target, a calling, a reason to move forward. How does simply waking up give you another chance to become the person you are striving to be? It grants you the irreplaceable gift of time, the rarest and most misused of all our possessions. Let this quiet recognition anchor your spirit. Let it hold you firmly in a moment of clarity before the rest of the world rushes in. Let it prepare your soul not only for calm, but for composure, not only for action, but for aligned action. Let it remind you that your worth does not begin when others approve of you. It begins the moment you open your eyes and remember your values. Let it fill you before the world asks you to perform, compete, or chase. Fill your mind before it gets pulled apart by distractions. Let it teach you that wholeness begins not with achievement, but with awareness. It is not built by the world's metrics, but by your own daily decision to recognize, honor, and live by what truly matters. Chapter 4. Direct the first thought. Your first thought in the morning is the spark that lights the fire. It is the mental cornerstone upon which the rest of your day is built. If you wake and immediately think of your burdens, you burn energy without intention. You step into the day already bent under the weight of anxiety and dread. Your spirit is dragged into battles before your feet even touch the ground. But if you wake and direct your thought to strength, to virtue, to what you control, then you claim the high ground of your mind. You light the fire, not to warm your fears, but to fuel your focus, discipline, and purpose. This first thought does not need to be grand, it needs to be chosen. It is your first act of internal leadership. Your mind, fresh from the stillness of sleep, is most receptive in these moments. This is your opportunity to imprint it with direction instead of reaction. When you direct it toward gratitude, resolve, and clarity, you program your perception before the world attempts to program it for you. That first conscious thought either becomes a weapon in your hand or a weakness in your armor. The Stoics taught that the mind is a garden and thoughts are seeds. What you plant first will grow strongest. A neglected garden will be overtaken by weeds, and so will a neglected mind. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily that his mind was his kingdom. He chose to reign there, not by chance, but by conscious repetition. He fortified his mind each morning with reminders of who he was and what he stood for. He refused to let external chaos define his internal peace. You must do the same. You must stand at the gates of your thoughts and determine what enters, like a watchman guarding a sacred inner temple. Every thought that knocks must be questioned. Does this build me or break me? Does it align with my virtues or corrupt them? The morning is when you are most open, most vulnerable, and also most powerful, because what you let in first will echo through every decision, every interaction, every response that follows. Do not let your first thoughts be dictated by fear or dread. These thoughts are not your masters unless you bow to them. You have a choice. You can push back against the tide of anxious reflex and steer your mind toward clarity. Fear comes knocking, but courage must answer. Distraction will offer you ease, but purpose must lead. Do not hand your sovereignty to distraction or panic. To do so is to allow your day to be owned before it begins. Seize those first thoughts with resolve. Shape them with awareness. Speak to them like a general preparing his troops. Set their direction. Aim them like arrows toward discipline, peace, and control. Give them command, but only after they've proven their worth. Let them serve you, not sabotage you. Let them become the architects of the kind of life you are building. For when you master the morning mind, you shape the entire character of your day, and the day becomes your ally, not your adversary. The moment you open your eyes, think, "Today I will practice courage. Today I will honor my nature. Today I will respond, not react." Repeat it mentally. This is your mental compass. Chapter 5. Build a morning philosophy ritual. The Stoics did not see philosophy as abstract theory. For them, it was medicine for the soul, and the morning was when they took their dose. It was not a matter of academic interest, but of spiritual survival. They saw each morning not just as a time to wake the body, but to awaken the intellect and the spirit. To begin the day without philosophy would have been, in their view, to step into battle without armor. Philosophy was their compass and their correction. It pointed them toward what truly mattered and helped them recalibrate before the day's events attempted to distort their focus. Reading a few lines from a philosopher, reflecting in silence, or writing a short passage of truth was how they prepared for the world. These simple practices were not rituals of vanity. They were reinforcements of identity. They were morning conversations with reason itself. To the Stoic, philosophy was not about clever words, it was about clear living. It was not a game of rhetoric or a performance of intellect, but a daily discipline of soul-shaping. Wisdom wasn't a decoration for the bookshelf. It was a sword and a shield, both a defense against internal chaos and a weapon for clarity in confusion. It was armor for the unseen battles and a map for life's unpredictable terrain. In the morning, it was a shield before the battle, a way of reminding oneself that virtue, not emotion, is the standard. Before ambition could rush in or resentment take hold, philosophy offered a moment of deep orientation, an inward turn toward what lasts, what guides, what elevates. It was a mirror for the soul, reflecting not who you wished to be, but who you actually were, and demanding alignment. It did not flatter, it confronted. It showed the truth of your motives and tested the strength of your integrity. It asked the questions few dared to answer in the rush of modern life. Are you being honest with yourself? Are you serving your highest purpose? Have you forgotten what is in your control and what is not? Philosophy was the tool with which they trimmed back their ego and reinforced their reason. They used it not to impress others, but to refine themselves, to eliminate the noise, to hold on to what was essential. Whether it was Marcus Aurelius reminding himself to be tolerant and firm, or Epictetus urging restraint and logic, each quote became a mirror in which they examined their character. These reflections weren't passive, they were confrontational. They weren't soft comforts, they were calls to higher living. They asked, are you living in accordance with what you claim to believe? Are you walking with courage, temperance, justice, and wisdom? Or have you allowed the world to dull your discipline and pull you away from your path? The Stoics knew that philosophy was not just meant to be admired, it was meant to be applied, especially in the quiet hours before the world's demands began to shape them. Philosophy in the morning steadies the mind. It calms what is restless and focuses what is scattered. It restores proportion in a world that exaggerates what matters. It strips away the artificial urgency of the day and reminds you that most of what disturbs you is not the thing itself, but your perception of it. It reminds you of what matters, not in theory, but in urgency. It silences the noise of comparison and vanity before the world even has the chance to speak. Before anyone can praise or criticize you, philosophy affirms the only judgment that counts, your own inner alignment with truth. It reminds you that your identity is built on values, not opinions, that your actions, not your image, are your legacy. It anchors you in the idea that success is not how many follow you, but how faithfully you follow your own principles. It returns your attention to what you control, your thoughts, your actions, your principles. And in doing so, it gives you power. Power over yourself. Power to remain calm under pressure. Power to decide who you will be before the world imposes its demands. You become rooted, not swayed. Grounded, not pulled. Anchored in wisdom, you walk into the day with inner gravity, not emotional volatility. You do not drift through the day. You move with conviction. You move with soul. And conviction, born of morning philosophy, becomes your quiet strength, reliable, unshakable, and deeply your own. Choose one Stoic quote to meditate on each morning. Write it on a card. Read it out loud. Reflect for 5 minutes. Ask yourself, how can I embody this today? Keep the card with you as a reminder. Chapter 6. Morning movement, Stoic motion. The Stoics believed in harmony between body and mind. They knew the body was not to be worshipped, but to be disciplined and developed, just like the mind. They viewed the body not as a source of identity, but as an instrument of virtue. Its condition influenced the clarity of the mind, the resilience of the spirit, and the readiness to act. Early morning movement, whether walking, stretching, or deliberate physical exertion, was not just a health habit. It was an extension of Stoic philosophy, action in alignment with virtue, preparation for the demands of the day. Movement in the early hours was the embodiment of waking up to life, not just physically, but ethically. Musonius Rufus taught that strength of body and soul are companions. He believed that neglecting the body led to the weakening of character, just as neglecting the soul corrupted the mind. A man who let his physical vessel decay would find it harder to maintain sharpness of judgment, courage under stress, or persistence in adversity. The Stoics did not place the body above the mind, but they knew its discipline was not to be dismissed. To train the body is to train willpower, to awaken the senses with intention, not indulgence. It means to confront resistance early, to choose strain over softness, to remind yourself that comfort is a luxury and not a right. It is to train your will to act regardless of mood. When you choose movement over stagnation, effort over ease, you are already exercising dominion over your instincts. You teach the body to respond to command, not craving. You give the soul a vehicle that is not distracted or weakened by physical neglect. Strength of limb complements strength of resolve, and the first test of your discipline each day begins not with words, but with action. The first movement of the day becomes a reminder that you are alive, that effort is your ally, and that your body is not a burden. It is a tool for service. It is the bridge between your values and your actions. It is your vessel of action, and if left untuned, it becomes an anchor instead of an asset. A body untended becomes a mind unfocused, but movement, disciplined, intentional, and simple, restores that focus. It activates the primal center of your being and aligns it with purpose. Motion clears mental fog. It stirs the spirit, aligning breath with purpose. It wakes the will. It teaches responsiveness, alertness, and resolve. It makes the mind more receptive to wisdom, more resilient to hardship, and more stable in adversity. When you move with discipline, you reinforce the lesson. I command my impulses. I do not serve them. You say with your actions what your words claim to believe, that you are in charge of how your day begins. The simple act of stepping outside, of stretching your limbs toward the sky, of breathing deeply while the world still sleeps, these are not mundane. They are sacred repetitions that reinforce sovereignty over self. These rituals tell the day, I am ready. They remind you that even in a chaotic world, your internal rhythms can stay steady. They reset the compass when the world pulls you in all directions. When your muscles awaken, your mind sharpens. When your breath deepens, your perspective expands. When you feel the beat of your own pulse, you remember that your time is finite and every minute counts. You remember that discipline is not punishment, it is power. You learn that discipline in motion translates into discipline in thought. You learn that inertia dies when your body obeys your spirit. And when the body moves with intention, the soul walks beside it, firm and fearless. The Stoic understood that physicality grounds you in presence. It anchors your awareness to the here and now. It brings the spiritual into the practical. It places you back into the now, into the body you inhabit and often forget. A morning routine of motion is not vanity. It is a form of self-respect. It is a declaration that you are not ruled by sleepiness or resistance, but by reason. It is a testimony to the partnership between soul and strength. It is an act of aligning with the natural order, of making your first engagement with the day one of deliberate action. It re-establishes control after the vulnerability of sleep. It is the conscious turning of intention into motion. It is your body rising in rhythm with your inner order. It is the first of many victories you will claim today, quiet, physical, and deeply philosophical. And each time you rise with motion, you rise with meaning. You rise with power. You rise with purpose already fulfilled in the very act of beginning. Create a 10-minute morning movement ritual. It could be a brisk walk around your block, a set of deep, conscious stretches that open your chest and back, a few rounds of calisthenics that activate your core and legs, or a sequence of mindful breathing paired with posture alignment. The point is not perfection, it's presence. Keep it simple but intentional. This is not about burning calories, it is about setting your tone. This movement is a statement. I do not shrink from the day, I rise to meet it. Include movement that activates both your breath and your awareness. Let your hands rise and fall with each inhale and exhale. Let your steps or your poses be slow and deliberate. As you move, imagine you are waking up every level of your being, your blood, your muscles, your thoughts, and your purpose. Let this ritual be sacred, not rushed. If you only have 10 minutes, let every second be filled with ownership and direction. Say to yourself, this movement is my declaration. I am prepared to carry myself with strength today. I begin in control. I begin with dignity. I begin by honoring my body and directing my spirit. Chapter 7. The Battle Against Drift. Drift is the quiet killer of potential. It rarely announces itself loudly. It sneaks in gently, disguised as ease, disguised as just a minute more in bed, disguised as the harmless scroll of a phone screen. The Stoics knew that a day not directed by principle will be taken by impulse, and once taken, it rarely returns with anything valuable. The enemy is not always chaos, it is often comfort. It is not always tragedy, it is triviality. Comfort lulls, triviality numbs. When you begin your morning without intention, you become easy prey to distraction, comparison, and mental fatigue. You are led instead of leading. Seneca wrote, "No wind is favorable to the sailor who has no port." To wake without direction is to sail without a destination, and worse, to drift wherever the current pulls you. Morning is the time to define that destination. It is the gateway between who you were yesterday and who you might become today. You decide who you will be today. You claim the day before it claims you. You refuse to let others dictate your schedule, your values, your emotional state. You build a wall between what matters and what merely screams for attention. This wall is made of small disciplines, consistent reminders, and intentional silence. Drift looks harmless, but every time you check your phone before checking your values, you slide toward meaninglessness. It's the subtle betrayal of your focus that adds up over time. Every time you start your day in reaction instead of reflection, you give away authority over your direction. Drift doesn't always look like disaster. It looks like delay. It looks like days that blur together without progress or presence. It manifests as procrastination disguised as productivity, as urgency without purpose, as busyness that replaces actual fulfillment. It lures you into believing you're moving when you're only spinning. Drift costs more than time. It costs you clarity, confidence, and momentum. It does not strike with sudden violence. It seeps in, unnoticed, like a slow leak in a sturdy ship. Left unattended, it leads even the strongest minds away from purpose. It leaves you mentally scattered, emotionally tired, and spiritually unfulfilled. Your goals blur, your vision narrows, and your passion wanes. And momentum, once lost, is difficult to reclaim. It does not return with one act of effort. It requires double the discipline, double the resolve, to restore what was lost to indecision and passivity. The Stoic trains himself to resist drift not with shame, but with structure. He understands that guilt is a poor substitute for discipline. Instead of lamenting wasted time, he reclaims it by reinforcing the framework of his day. He does not waste energy blaming himself. He invests that energy in designing his day with intention. He builds his hours with foresight, like an architect sketching a strong foundation. He creates borders for his time, anchors for his attention, and rituals that ground him before the noise begins. This is not rigidity, it is freedom earned through clarity. He does not curse his distractions, he outmaneuvers them with preparation. He anticipates where his attention may stray and places reminders in his path to pull it back. He knows that resistance to drift doesn't begin in the moment of temptation. It begins in the calm before it. It begins in the breath before action, the silence before engagement. The Stoic prepares his mind in the stillness so that when life tests him with chaos, he remains centered. He trains like a soldier before war, not to fear the battle, but to face it with composure. He knows the battle is won not by strength alone, but by readiness, by strategy, by deliberate alignment. He chooses clarity over confusion, focus over frenzy. And the first defense against drift is deliberate, morning intention. Conscious clarity before unconscious habits have a chance to rule the day. Write down your top 3 priorities before the world can shout over them. Not tasks, but virtues or mindsets. What do you want to embody, not just accomplish? For example, today I will be patient, I will be focused, I will be generous. Let each be a guiding star, not just a motivational phrase. Read them before your feet hit the floor and carry them with you as inner directives, not to impress others, but to remind yourself that you are not drifting, you are deciding. Chapter 8. The Power of Solitude. In the early morning silence, solitude reveals its power. To the Stoic, solitude is not emptiness, it is clarity. It is the sacred forge where identity is shaped without interruption, without performance, without audience. It is the deep reservoir from which understanding, peace, and self-command are drawn. It is the sanctuary where noise cannot reach you and the place where truth echoes the loudest. Marcus Aurelius often wrote in solitude, using it as his workshop for character. There in the quiet, he dissected his fears, examined his thoughts, and fortified his sense of duty. He used solitude not to escape life, but to understand how best to live it. He did not seek isolation, but intentional aloneness, to see himself without distortion, without distraction, without the emotional residue of the crowd. Solitude was not a retreat, it was a reckoning. Solitude in the morning is a return to yourself, a sacred re-entry into your own mind. It is the rare moment in modern life when you are no longer reacting, but contemplating. It is the hour when the world is still quiet enough for your own voice to be heard. You are not answering emails, messages, or opinions. You are answering only to yourself. You are no longer pulled by external narratives. You are writing your own. In solitude, there is no performance, no pretending, no need to impress, compete, or explain. Just thought, breath, reflection. You are not an image to manage. You are a being to understand. The Stoics saw this moment as essential to sanity and virtue. It is here, in this mental clearing, that self-awareness has space to grow. Reflection finds air. Silence becomes your ally. In a world of surface-level impressions and constant noise, this silence becomes a teacher. It does not demand your attention with flashing lights or loud opinions. It simply waits. And in that stillness, it shows you what truly matters. The world wants you constantly connected, endlessly available, and endlessly distracted. But wisdom demands time alone. Wisdom begins not with words, but with silence, not with movement, but with stillness, not with the opinions of others, but with the inspection of your own soul. If you want to hear your conscience, you must turn down the volume of everything else. You must make space for truth to speak. And that space is only found in solitude. You must go there willingly, like entering a temple, and sit in the uncomfortable but liberating presence of yourself. The Stoic does not fear solitude because he is at peace with himself. He has trained himself to enjoy his own company. He knows that time alone is not time wasted. It is time redeemed. It is the soil where discipline, self-respect, and virtue are planted. Solitude becomes the practice ground for the life you want to live in public. He uses it to audit his thinking, to realign his motives, to ask the hard questions others avoid. He trims away false desires. He strips down to the essential. He clears out the mental clutter that accumulates from interaction and noise. He sharpens his internal compass so that when the world sways, he does not. Solitude becomes strength, not a place to hide, but a place to sharpen, a place to prepare, a place to clarify what is essential, a place to return to your highest self without distortion, a place to remember that discipline is first a private thing, and when you start your day there, you walk into the world with fewer illusions, stronger boundaries, and firmer convictions. You walk with clarity because you began the day by listening to your soul before you listened to the world. You walk not just as someone awake, but as someone deeply aware. And in a world full of noise, that clarity becomes your quiet superpower. Spend 5 minutes in total silence before your day begins. No phone, no agenda. Sit upright, breathe, ask, what kind of person do I want to be today? Let the quiet shape your response. Chapter 9. Face the light, face the day. There is a reason the Stoics embraced nature. It reminded them of their place in the cosmos, their insignificance and their responsibility. Nature was not just beauty, it was instruction. The order of the heavens, the cycle of seasons, the unwavering course of the sun, all pointed toward deeper truths. Morning light was more than a signal to rise, it was a call to align. It invited them to participate in the discipline of the cosmos. The sun does not argue, it does not hesitate. It simply rises and fulfills its function. It gives light freely, without complaint, without delay. The Stoic aspires to do the same, to fulfill his purpose without being distracted by doubts or delays, to bring order to his thoughts the way the sun brings order to the sky. When you greet the day with open eyes and an open heart, you step into alignment with order. You declare that you are part of something greater and that your life, though small in the scheme of things, still holds significance. You do not cower before what might come. You stand tall before it. You meet the unknown with readiness, not resistance. The light on your face becomes symbolic. You do not hide in comfort or darkness. You do not let fear dictate your posture. You face the day. You face the truth. You face yourself. You step into responsibility and purpose instead of retreating into avoidance. There is quiet power in stepping outside and acknowledging the light. The warmth on your skin is a message. You have another chance. It reconnects you to the rhythm of life and resets your internal compass. It reminds you that no matter what chaos fills the world, the sun still rises, and so can you. It tells you that constancy exists. The Stoic knows, if he can meet the sun with readiness, he can meet anything. If he can face the morning with composure, he can endure adversity with resilience. He rises not with dread, but with duty. He does not rise to chase comfort. He rises to embody character. In doing so, he walks in harmony with the greater order and with himself. Step outside within the first hour of waking. Stand still. Let the light touch your face. Say to yourself, like the sun, I rise to fulfill my purpose. Chapter 10. End the beginning with intention. As your morning ritual concludes, remember, it is not how long your routine is, but how conscious it is. You could take hours and accomplish nothing of depth, or take 10 focused minutes and completely recenter your being. Victory is not found in complexity, it is found in consistency, in the unbroken promise you keep to yourself each dawn. The Stoic's morning is not performative, it is not trendy. It is not meant to impress, record, or post. It is meant to transform. It is transformational because it is true. True to reason, true to virtue, true to your own highest calling, true to who you are when no one is watching. And in that privacy, in that sacred beginning, your foundation is set for the rest of the day. The day will bring its noise, its surprises, its burdens. It will try to shake you, distract you, push and pull you in directions you never asked for. But you have already declared your strength in silence. You have already shown the universe who you are, not by what you say, but by how you start. You have already established command of your mind. You have chosen alignment before adversity, direction before distraction. And from that foundation, you do not need to fear what comes. You are prepared to meet it. The world may still throw chaos your way, but your soul is ordered, your values affirmed, your identity intact. You do not need the world to go smoothly to walk with grace. You've already decided who you will be, no matter what the world becomes. Every morning is a rehearsal for life. It is a training ground for your character. It is a practice in becoming, in remembering, in returning to the person you are still shaping. Each quiet act of discipline, reflection, gratitude, movement and alignment is a vote cast for the person you are choosing to be. A declaration that you are not reacting to life, but composing it from within. Each act, no matter how small, strengthens your center. And with each day you begin like this, you are not just surviving, you are rising. You are building upward from your foundation, brick by deliberate brick. And the strength you gain in the morning will carry you through whatever storms await. Because you did not begin in fear, you began in clarity. End each morning ritual by standing still and saying one clear intention out loud. Today, I will remain calm. Today, I will speak truth. Today, I will rise above anger. Let this final act become your launch point.